how we helped Scott and Melissa build a $2.2 million property portfolio, generating $545,000 capital growth in less than 3 years. My name is Casey Taylor, and I'm the host of the Tailored Property Wealth Podcast. And in today's episode, we are talking about clients that we have helped a couple of years ago build a substantial property portfolio and how we were able to help them do that. So we're going to dive straight into this one today. And this is our clients, Scott and Melissa, who reached out to us in 2022 from socials. Now, speaking with Scott at that time, he wasn't sure how to invest, what to invest in, and he was actually talking to some other buyers agents and even some property sharks and spruikers that were pushing the brand new property. So we really educated them and built out a strategy to be able to help them implement that and build a portfolio. Now, that $2.2 million property portfolio isn't including their owner-occupied property. This is simply just the investment properties that we have helped them secure. So, we, in September of 2022, helped them purchase a property in Queensland and in Brisbane. Now, that was exclusively off-market, and we secured that one for $495,000. That's on a big 825 metre squared block. It's a 4-bed, 2-bath, 2-garage property built in 2008. So relatively new build in comparison to some other areas that we kind of target depending on that capital city, where they can be 20, 30-year-old properties. Now, that property now that we secured exclusively off-market for $495,000 is sitting at $760,000. So in less than 3 years, there has been $265,000 equity uplift or 53% growth. Now, that's just in a 3-year period. Now, if you think back to 2022, we were in an interest rate rising environment. Rates were continuing to increase and did so into 2023. There was massive amount of noise. Property's not going to grow, blah, blah, blah. Some areas didn't grow. However, we understood where this individual market was at in its cycle, the affordability piece, and it has grown extremely strongly over the last 3 years. And this market will continue to perform. Some people are saying it's performed so well, it's overcooked. However, there's a lot of fundamentals that will continue to push growth in this location. Now, the second property we secured for them was in South Australia, in Adelaide. Now, this was only a couple of months later that they settled on this one. It was in Jan 2023. So we essentially helped them purchase 2 properties at once. Now, this property, again, we secured off-market exclusively to TPW for $520,000. Now, this one was actually a relatively new build, 2019, 512 square metre block, and a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-garage. This was in a location where there had been some new builds, but there wasn't much land still available there. So the principles were very strong, and this property is now at $800,000. Now, both of these properties as well, even though they've had massive capital growth, have also had massive rental income growth. So over time, the rental income is increasing on these properties, and that gross yield in comparison to the original purchase price has actually increased substantially. So these 2 properties that were purchased late 2022, early 23, has grown by $545,000 on just those 2 assets. Now, what we did this year in 2025 is we've helped Scott and Melissa recently settle on another property in another state in Victoria, in Melbourne. And this one we secured for $670,000. This had just recently had a renovation on the property, and that is going to be a solid long-term performer in the portfolio. So this one, we've only just bought it, we've secured it under market value, but it hasn't even had its growth yet. Now, if we kind of look at these 3 properties alone, and Scott and Melissa have plans to continue to build the portfolio even further, and we have some plans in place to be able to do that. However, if we just look at a compound growth calculator right now at $2.2 million, which is just their investment properties, it's not including their owner occupied, and over 15 years, we factor just a 5% compound growth calculator, that is a $4.573 million property portfolio, generating 2.3 mil in equity uplift and to your net wealth base. So that is extremely powerful. 3 years has flown by, 15 years, it flies by as well. And it's time in the market that really starts to become powerful. So this is just 3 simple property executions, taking action, not getting caught up in the negativity in the marketplace, people saying property's not going to perform, it's not going to do this, it's not going to do that. They got in and they just continued to take action, and they have now already built a massive amount of net wealth. So both properties have actually done 53%, okay, which is massive, massive capital growth. This is what you can achieve if you get in and you simply take action. It is a matter of working with someone who knows what they're doing, getting in those growth locations, prime for growth, and securing under market value as well. Because then you'll get that capital growth. You can pull capital growth out of that property and leverage into another property and another property. The structuring piece is important, and surrounding yourself with that team of specialists as well is imperative to be able to continue to build the portfolio. It's not just a matter of going out there, buying any old property, looking on Domain and doing it that way. There is an extremely structured process you have to follow to get this right. If you want to be like Scott and Melissa, who build a portfolio, you can reach out to us and we can have a conversation and see if you might be one of the ideal clients that we work with. And we do have limited spots each month. But reach out, we can see what your property goals are, if your values align, and we can see if we can work together. Hope this one's been valuable, just understanding some of the performance we've been able to help some past clients do. And hope you enjoyed. Thanks for listening.